Yeah. Bitcoin Liberty Live, episode 70. I've got Robin with me. Daniel's going to join us any minute now. He's on his way. I put the title up as Back to School because both of my kids, I've got kids off in college as well, but my two younger kids are back to school this week. It's a big transition in the season. And my reflection on that, as the weather just gets a little cooler, is literally that I get into a different frame of mind where I kind of slow down. I switch from some of my busy summer season type of work, and I'll spend a day where I grab a book, I read. Robin, I know you're diving into nodes and Bitcoin, and it's like a good time to say, I've done all this good pushing work, but it's a time and a season to kind of slow down, learn new stuff, push yourself, slow down, grab a book, read a book. And it's nice to dive in again. And you think you've learned all this stuff, and I know all this stuff, and there's always more to learn. It's always decent options to go back to school a little bit for yourself.
That was a lot in there. I love that.
Morning, Johnny. Good to see you, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Johnny. Welcome back. Robin, you've been diving into you got to start.
You're gonna go where the dragons are right out of the gate.
Oh, I guess we don't have to go into all the deep territory, but
let's do it.
It's the back to school theme.
We couldn't help talking about it before the show, so I think we cannot help talking about it in the show.
I know, it's on my mind. Run a node. That's all we're saying is run a node.
Yeah, but it's interesting because it kind of started for me to be a topic, I think, first time on the podcast with George Bodine, where he was really emotional about it. And I think he even apologized later on, where he was like, oh, I shouldn't have been so emotional about it. And then it was kind of not that big of a deal, and now it's really bubbling up. Like you can't miss it. It's in the podcast and in the YouTube shows, and it's on Twitter, it's on the feeds, everyone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
you waded right into the deep end. You're just like, hey, I want to ask a question. It's like, oh, I remember I saw that. I was like, oh, don't you don't want to ask questions.
Don't ask questions.
Yeah, you just like keep your mouth shut, and you either pick a side or keep quiet. But there's no middle ground. Like, I want to learn. Like, how dare you? How dare you, Robin? Don't you dare try and learn more about this topic.
Have you ever been on knots? Yeah, run a node, and in that process, hey, run more than one node, try things out, learn about it. My opportunity a few years ago was easy enough to download software in the first point, but then it was like, oh, I want my own separate specific hardware device and play around with that. And it's just learn about it. And a lot of people enter the space and it's like, yes, but what side are you on? So right. Like, okay, if we only have like 20, 25,000 nodes, like we were saying, it doesn't matter. The important thing is running a node. So yeah, that's my back to school theme.
I like it. Well, I like the back to school theme, and I agree with the sentiment 100%. Like as I was pointing out backstage, I'm going to point out again, the vast majority of people that are really vehemently arguing these points are the kind of people that tuck their t-shirt into their underwear and they pick their belly button so they can sniff their finger. I mean, these are like deeply autistic kind of coders, and they have strong opinions about things, and it's very hard for them to deviate from them. I'm not saying all coders, I'm painting a broad brush here, and I know I'm shitting on people's heads probably needlessly, and I'm just adding inflammatory, rhetoric to the debate. But at the end of the day, these are people that don't get along well with people. They get along well with code. And there's a reason why the tone of the debate has degraded so rapidly. And so, I mean, it's down to like, you're the FBI. Oh, you guys are, CP peddlers or whatever. And it's just like, okay, well, that's, you're pretty much at the end of the dialogue at that point. So
I will say, not to interrupt, sorry.
Oh, that's all right. Go ahead. I'm just bashing on coders right now.
People gravitate into, if you say, rhetoric or strong personal attacks and whatnot. I think people gravitate there because they care so deeply. We care so deeply about Bitcoin. At the end of the day, we all want Bitcoin to succeed, to work, to change the world as it will. And so you care very deeply. And so when you see any threat, you want it to stop, or especially if it's a perceived threat that also involves CP or spam or all this stuff. You see it as a threat, and so you want it to stop and you want to fight it at the best that you know how. So, I mean, I get the passion, but then again, I hate to see Bitcoiners divided. So,
and the main thing that is because I got the question yesterday actually, and someone was like, "Oh, are you afraid to pick a side?" And I'm like, actually, I kind of am. Like, yeah. I don't want to be the guy on the side that is accused of being a child pornographer and doing that. But I also don't want to be accused of being in cahoots with the FBI. So,
right.
And there are many other things that both sides say bad about the other side. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not afraid, but honestly, picking a side with more and more intensity, it makes less and less sense for me. We're like, yeah, I run my node, and I think running a node is great, but the reward for picking a side is getting very slim, and I'm like, it's no longer a technical or like a productive debate. It's more of like a drama, a soap opera, if you will. Like, yeah. It's entertaining maybe for some. Like, people like drama, people like entertaining stuff, but I don't see a lot of productive questions and great debates that actually go into the weeds of it and ask the interesting things, and more drama. But maybe that's just how the algorithm on Twitter works also.
Well, it absolutely does. I mean, like, the algorithm favors this kind of debate 100% because it's driven towards conflict. It's driven towards things like, hey, this is getting a lot of engagement. So the algorithm is naturally going to gravitate towards the things that get the most engagement. And, a lot of the people that are saying this stuff thrive on engagement, right? I mean, like, all of this stuff relies on people engaging with their idea, and whether you're whichever side you're on, the more engagement you get, like, you'll notice that the people that get very little engagement from the algorithm are the people that come along and go, well, here's a really long, dense bunch of text about why all of reasons, and reasons for and reasons against. Like, you'll get like 50 views writing something like that. If you come out and go, hey, these people are, or do you want, CSAM on your network? Are you going to broadcast that? Are you one of those people? Then you go, well, that's going to get a lot of engagement, right? And so it sort of naturally gravitates towards conflict. And as many people pointed out, and it's usually the pro core side that goes, hey, man, I was just at some conference and like literally no one came up and said not even word one to me about it. So, like, I love that you're all keyboard warriors and willing to, spout a bunch of nonsense behind your, the facade of your screen. But, in person, you're just like, hey, how's it going? Like, you got nothing to say. And so I'm not saying that's universally true. What I can say is, like, the argument has devolved to such a state where it's like you said, it's sort of pointless to engage in it, because then you're literally just like red versus blue. And at the core of the debate is something that this is not a new discussion, right? Like, people are framing it like this is some existential threat to Bitcoin, or it's a this, or it's that, or it's going to break everything, and yada, yada, yada. But the thing is, that's every single prohibition debate in the history of prohibition schemes, right? Like, if you go back 2,000 years, there was some guy that went around and said, hey, I don't think prostitution is a good idea. We should ban it. We don't want to encourage prostitution. We don't want this. We don't want that. And the problem is the core behavior is sex, right? Like, the baseline behavior is sexuality. We don't like women charging for sex. We think that's a moral corruption. We don't think that's, it doesn't honor the intention of the Bible. It doesn't honor the intent of the Creator. It's a moral imperative that we do this. But there are some people that go, kind of, it helps people get by. Like, not everyone agrees that prostitution should be banned, right? So it's behavior that some people don't like and want to curtail it. but there's a financial reward at the other side of it. You go, well, for some people, they make a lot of money like selling sex. So you're trying to ban financially lucrative activity that some people don't like. You go, well, how do you do that? And that's been the problem. Every single person that has an idea that they go, some people don't like this and we want to ban it. You go, how do you tackle that problem? It's nearly impossible. And you can see it in the drug war. You can see it with prostitution. You can see it with gun bans. You can see it with, any type of voluntary behavior that has a financial reward that some people don't like. When those some people try and ban it, there are negative externalities that arise from the attempt to ban voluntary, economically lucrative behavior that some people don't like. There's a reason back in the history of the law, there were only 7 common law felonies, and they were called the common law and common law felonies because they were common throughout the realm. Everybody in the realm could agree, hey, if you murder somebody, that's no good. Like, we don't have to have a moral debate about it. We don't have to go, well, sometimes murder is okay because, so it's like there's no gray area. You go, did you murder that guy? Yeah, you're not supposed to do that. Like, everybody agrees you're not supposed to kill somebody. Everybody agrees you're not supposed to kidnap somebody. Everybody agrees you're not supposed to rape somebody. Everybody agrees that you're not supposed to steal from somebody. Like, these are all very easy things to define. And that's why there's only 7 of them that they listed. And the punishment for violating those rules was death. They go, oh, you stole a loaf of bread? Hang them, right? Like, it was straightforward, cut and dried. No one debated it. They go, oh, well, you're a thief. Hang them. And there are still countries to this day. It's like, oh, you're a thief, cut off his hands. Like, there's, zero tolerance for very common things that everyone can agree these are violations of the social code. Things like, is it okay to wrestle with a greased pig? Well, some people don't like that people wrestle with greased pigs. They find it offensive and they don't want it to happen. They want to ban that behavior. Other people think it's a lot of fun to wrestle with a greased pig. Some people think you shouldn't be able to do some drugs. Other people think you should be able to do some drugs. Some people think you should not be allowed to have a machine gun. Other people think you should be allowed to have a machine gun. So these are all judgment calls. These are all things that some people don't like. Some people have the ability to do that, and they try and ban that behavior. But there's a financial reward to wrestling greased pigs. There's a financial reward to selling sex. There's a financial reward to selling machine guns. There's a financial reward to all this sort of stuff. So when you start getting into the weeds about how do we ban that, how do we prevent that, it's a really, really, really tricky thing to do. And so the one side says, hey, we're going to fix this with policy. And you go, that's not going to work, right? It can't work. The other side says, well, we're going to take a laissez-faire approach because they're just doing it anyway. And you go, that's not a good idea. That's not going to work either. Like, you have to strike some sort of balance somewhere, and it's always going to be gray, and it's always going to be nebulous, and it's always going to be fraught with problems. So the way you tackle it is not as cut and dried and as straightforward as people want to make it seem. So that's my soapbox for the day. I'll try and shut up because I always do this. I'm always soapboxing.
Good analogy there. And when I think about it, one thing that pushes the debate right now is the proposals being implemented into Core 30, which when you think about, we either ban it or we open the floodgates. And in between, thinking of the prostitution thing, it's like, okay, well, what if it was regulated? Like, okay, people are gonna do it, but we try to do it so that it protects women. It's done safely. It's, not underground and criminal and whatever, pimps and stuff. Maybe a stretch of an analogy here, but Bitcoin is based on consensus. So there's no state saying, okay, here's the law now. This is what it is. It's open source software, and you can run the node you want. And so at least I have my strong personal opinions about how you might run a node and what I want in a block and yada, yada. My personal strong beliefs. The problem would be that the threat to Bitcoin would be, say, the lack of decentralized consensus. We need more nodes. Like, if you care this much, run a node, promote a node, but articulate why. And so when we devolve into the strong, passionate personal attacks that we see, it's like, I see more people spinning up nodes and learning about it. At the same time, I don't want people new to Bitcoin going, what is all this? Like, I don't understand. So it's a double-edged sword. I think more people are starting to say, yeah, I'm going to run a node now. Oh, what node? Hey, think about it. That's great. I also don't want people going, oh, Bitcoin's kind of Got some weird navel gazing going on here. So
Yeah.
I don't think new people to Bitcoin hear anything about that. Because I make commonly community questions on my YouTube to gauge where is the community that watches my channel kind of standing, and I ask questions of like, hey, do you do self custody? And I usually get like 50% of people saying, yeah, I do self custody, maybe 60%, and the rest is like, no, like I'll rather keep them at an exchange. I don't trust myself, basically. Like that's the thing. And I asked recently of like, hey, do you run a node? It was just like a week ago, and people ask me, what is a node? like is that the minor thing? And so I think we are very deep in the weeds, and the broader Bitcoin community might just not care. I mean, it gets more and more like more and more people talk about it. Like Jeff Booth made some comments, Matthew Grider made comments, like on big shows that people actually watch. More comments are being made. But people don't even know what Bitcoin node is. They definitely don't know what the difference between core and nodes is. And I would make the argument not a lot of people actually know. Right. And there's just I don't know, like 5 to 10 really loud voices on the one side, and 5 to 10 really loud voices on the one side. So there's like those are fighting, and there's a bunch of smaller accounts that are chiming in, and so. I also thought about that. Is like, is there a risk that people are turned off by Bitcoin because we are having kind of infights? I don't think people even go that far. Like they're like, oh, Bitcoin goes up. Oh yeah. Oh, Anthony Pompliano said it's September is going to be the up month on CNBC. Oh yeah, I'll buy some more. I think that's the level that most Bitcoiners, I'm talking when we count every Bitcoiner that has Bitcoin in some accounts, this is what they see. I don't think they listen to the infighting debates.
Yeah, I agree with you, dude. 100%. Like that, I think you framed it so well. And that's one of the things when I'm always promoting, like, please run a node. Like, it's so important that we run nodes, right? And it's because there's like, depending on what number you choose, it's somewhere between 8 and 80 million people that have exposure to Bitcoin, right? But there's 20,000 nodes. So you go, the people that are actual, like, true dyed-in-the-wool Bitcoiners are 20,000 at best, 23,000 depending on the node count of the day. And you know, of those, probably a third, 5,000-6,000 of those nodes, 7,000 of those nodes are run by corporations in Wales, right? So you go, okay, so that means out of all the 23,000 nodes, there's probably 14,000 pleb run nodes. So you go, all right, well, so 14,000 people have some voice in where this discussion is going. And those are the people that are voicing strong opinions, I think, in these discussions. But the other 80 million people don't even know this discussion is happening, and they don't care, and they won't care. And that's why I think it's so much more important for all those loud voices to be directed towards one central cause. Like, teach the plebs, the real plebs, the rest of the world that has Bitcoin exposure, that bought into it because of a Michael Saylor video that said number go up forever and it's immutable and perfect money and blah, 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 blah. It's like, well, it's got some of those characteristics, but they're fragile. They're not guaranteed. And the thing that will increase the benefit for everybody is that more and more people run nodes. If we had 1 million nodes running right now, I'd sleep like a baby. 20,000 nodes, I'm like that's literally the tone in my brain at all times. So I really wish people would orient their messaging towards, hey man, it's so important that we run a node. It's so important that if you have Bitcoin exposure, that you go a little deeper, you understand self-custody, you understand node running gives you a voice in all of these debates, even if you don't necessarily understand them right now. Just the act of like figuring out how to set the stupid thing up puts you in a different position. It puts you in a different light. It makes you part of the network. And you can then choose, you know, when you see the debate, because then all of a sudden they'll be keyed into these debates. They'll be going like, hey, wait a minute. I run a node. What are these people talking about right now? Then you can start doing some research and trying to figure out which side, if there is a side to pick, you can start deciding which side to be on and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
But
go ahead.
I think more software implementations is a benefit. I like that core or knots exists because it's a different implementation of the software, and it gives people a choice in what software they're running. But you also have libbitcoin, that is Eric Voskuil's thing that he's been working on for a better part of a decade. I think that's going to reduce a lot of this noise in general because the block sync times come way down under his scheme. Like we're talking like syncing the chain in like less than a few hours kind of thing. And so there's parallel processing involved, but he's still working on the server implementation. But you could actually run libbitcoin node right now. You just can't really use it the way like to transact necessarily, but you can monitor transactions, you can verify and validate transactions and all that kind of stuff. But you have to compile it from code. So it's not like a straightforward process for someone who's just getting into Bitcoin, right? But that's going to be available soon. So that'll be a third implementation of the Bitcoin software that I go, hey, this is great, man. There's more diversity of the software. And as long as it's all following the same consensus rules, then we get a lot more voice in like what that means. And, when you say like Bitcoin is based on consensus, I go, well, there is a consensus rule. Everyone is in consensus of what constitutes a valid transaction. But the core ethos of Bitcoin is permissionlessness, not consensus. It's not the consensus of the plebs. It's not the consensus of the devs. It's the permissionless access to the network is the thing that makes it. Decentralized and permissionless are the two core components. Consensus is just a mechanism by which we validate transactions, so maintaining permissionlessness is huge. It's very, very important, as is decentralization. So please, if you're listening, run a node.
Yeah, good point there. And just having accessible, diverse options to learn from and then pick one or make your own. It's all important. And but I mean, I threw up a graph of the number of reachable nodes out there, and it's like, okay, we're slowly, steadily approaching like say 25,000 nodes. But I mean, at that rate, we don't get to 100,000 nodes for what, 5-10 years. So yeah, we need more as we go back to school, and I just encourage people, go back to school, dive back in. If you like Bitcoin, read a little more, study a little more. Yeah. Spin up a node if you're not already, and if you're running a node, maybe run a second one, run it on hardware, run it on your own dedicated hardware, but just kind of keep walking the path. So
yeah, 100%. Well, I mean, if you look at those node counts, like if you look right after 2020, the node counts dip pretty hard, right? So like there's a lot of interest in running a node when Bitcoin is climbing the charts. That interest declines pretty rapidly after the charts start nuking, right? So I think in 2019, 2020, like nodes bottomed out at like 8,000 or 9,000 or something like that. I can't remember the exact numbers. And then they've been climbing ever since. And so it's really hard to say like, are nodes actually increasing right now, or is it just sort of a normal fluctuation in the number of nodes? Because it's vacillated wildly since 2010, right? What I think would be unmistakable is if we saw like a huge spike, like if every single influencer would just get on board and just start going, hey, number go up is great. Bitcoin is great. Freedom Tech is great. By the way, run a node, like the most important thing you can do is help run a node. Right. And so there, as you can see, there are some dips in where nodes occur. Right. And like the node saturation. So, yeah, I mean, we really need to be much stronger on the messaging, as anybody that cares about Bitcoin should be messaging 24/7. Hey, please run a node. If you're new to Bitcoin, consider running a node. If you've been in Bitcoin a long time, consider running a node. If you're talking about Bitcoin, tell people to run a node. If you fire up a node, convince someone else to run a node, just like convince someone to get off zero. Once they're off zero, convince them to get off zero on nodes, and we can preserve the decentralized permissionless network that we all think is going to fix the world, right? That's the key message.
Yeah. And I still feel confident in, with all the debate going on, it's TikTok next block. I still see the tentacles of Bitcoin changing the entire system. And a lot of that's going to be through stable coins and TradFi that can't ignore numbers and all this stuff. But I still feel hugely bullish about all of it. So despite all the noise, if I back off and just think about the fundamentals, what Bitcoin is doing, it is still the biggest thing we've seen in anyone's lifetimes financially, economically. The entire game has changed. So that has not changed. So,
and I've actually looked at kind of the journey that most Bitcoiners take, and like there's for me, I don't know if I brought this actually up last week also, but there's like those main 3 pillars that you get from Bitcoin. Is the first is the wealth, I save things and like my number goes up. The second is the freedom aspect, where running your own node and self-custody and those kind of things come into play. And then this third pillar for me is then the community. You actually get involved in a meetup, you go to a conference, you maybe start an article, you write a blog, you maybe go further down the line and like start a podcast, write a book, or like whatever you do. And for me, and this is kind of the thing where most people are still stuck in the first funnel. Most people are stuck in like, I'll just buy it. And they, if you look at all the statistics, there might be 500 million people that have some exposure to Bitcoin, but how many people have then exposure to self-custody? So most people, like if we have, there are many statistics out there, like there are 500, 400 million Bitcoin users. And I would argue those are all stuck in the first pillar. Then it's like, okay, how many have succeeded in the second pillar, where we have the self-custody and running their own node? This is a far smaller number. If we take a very optimistic approach and say with all the hidden nodes, maybe there are 60,000 or 80,000 or 100,000, then how many people actually do self-custody? Like, I don't think that many. Like, I don't think that number is huge. And then how many people are actually talking about it? I carry lists on Twitter where I categorize just like who's a Bitcoiner and who's talking about it regularly. That list is under 1,000 people, and I search every single day because I need guests and I need great people to be on the podcast 365 times a year. So I have an incentive to actually search for people and find new people, and I update quite regularly. So this is where I feel like that's why we don't have a lot of nodes, just because the second pillar is not the most important one for 99% of people in Bitcoin. 99% of people in Bitcoin have some, I don't know, $5,000 on Coinbase. They might have like $10,000 in an ETF account. They maybe have some IBIT thing going on, and they might have something on Kraken or Binance laying around. This is like most Bitcoiners, that is not even a big number, like in the greater scheme of things. So I don't know. I hope we just have to, all those people that come in, and that's the important message that you, Daniel, also like really embody, saying like, we don't want to have bank coin, we want to have Bitcoin, and for that to happen, we need those people that currently only care about number go up technology. We have to filter them into this second pillar of having, hey, you can take self-custody, like it's actually yours then. And if you care about Bitcoin, and if you care about your own privacy and all of your freedom, you should also run a node. And if you get people there, it's amazing. And it's just fascinating how small of a group of people that actually are, which tells me, we are super duper early.
Huge.
That's the thing. We're still early.
Yeah.
I saw we had a comment on our channel from last week. Somebody asked the question, like, there's concern about the number of nodes, or the need for a permissionless decentralized system. And why don't some big whales invest in getting nodes running, getting nodes out there? The question had come up a while ago, I think, when concerns about Core first came up. And it was like, why doesn't Saylor throw some of his untold amounts of wealth towards developers, invest in developers? Similar question could be asked of, hey, if BlackRock can come in and say, hey, you know what? Like you mentioned, Daniel, on a recent podcast, you said, what if BlackRock just decided, we're going to spin up a whole bunch of nodes all over the globe as we want, and not just not even having to mine, but just running nodes and doing mempool work. Shouldn't whales or Sailor or, big players protect the network at a fundamental level and run nodes? I see a couple of things there. One being that I think a lot of these people in those positions are very careful to, they're doing their resource capture game, of course, but they're also very careful to project certain, vectors of power or control over it all. I think they're being a little egalitarian about their approach. And at another level, I also think that a lot of these whales, as you see Bitcoin sold or you see Sailor's incentives, it's often quite fiat as well. They're not thinking about necessarily, like, it's kind of like, no, the network runs fine. They're focused on their resource capture game, and it's about number go up. So you see big whales sitting on Bitcoin that you also realize they're selling on exchange in ways that it's like, yeah, they got in early, but they also still don't relate to Bitcoin the way we do. Like, you'd think they do, but they don't. So we're early. We're really still early.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And there is no financial incentive for them to do that, right? Because they have already got theirs, basically, right? So if you're a whale and you're sitting on 15,000 Bitcoin, like, it doesn't really matter what happens to the protocol now. Like, you already made yours, right? And if you're the kind of person that went from a nobody to a 100 millionaire, multi-billionaire just by sitting on a fucking coin because you got in early, like, the type of psychology that's going to embody in you is going to be very different than someone who is coming to it now. So, like, the accessible Bitcoin, something like 70% of the accessible Bitcoin is held in like 5,000 wallets, right? So there's this massive wallet concentration that I talked about in the past a long time ago. I go, that's problematic, right? Like, and it's slowly distributing out, but it's distributing from deep pockets to other deep pockets. It's going from whales to ETFs. It's going from whales to Sailor. It's going from whales to corporations, and it's going from whales to exchanges, right? So the plebs, the little guy is still running around, swimming behind the whale and trying to collect the plankton that the whale didn't scoop up, right? So at some point, I think that's going to start trickling down somewhat, but not if the network becomes centralized and it becomes Bankcoin and it becomes something where it's just big players trade it as another thing on their books that's sort of protecting them from debasement, right? And it becomes a lot less interesting as a project if that happens. So I think when they look at when they survey the landscape, and I can't speak for any of them, whether it's Sailor or BlackRock or anybody, you go, well, they survey the landscape and they go, well, 15,000 t-shirt stuffing navel pickers are running this network. So we can co-opt it at almost at will at any time just by applying moderate pressure. Or they're looking at it and they go, well, it's probably resilient, but if it blows up, it blows up. We don't care. Or they're looking at it like, well, we can enforce whatever thing that Michael Saylor sold us at that one meeting a long time ago, that we just want to keep it that way, whatever that is. So if that means running core V30, that's what they do. Like, they don't care, So there's all this, like, there's not a lot of incentive for them to go, hey, we really appreciate the freedom aspects and the sovereignty and the sovereign ownership of property, and we really want to support the network so that every little guy in the world has access to sovereign property rights. But to Robin's point, if there's 540 million Bitcoiners, people with Bitcoin exposure on some level, if you can just strip off 1% of them, or even 5% or 0.5%, right? You go, well, that's 2.5 million nodes. And I don't think it's hard to get a 0.5% conversion rate, right? Like, if you just take it to a marketing sales angle, you go, we need to convert 0.5% of these people to running a node. And certainly 0.5% of those people are people like you and me who are going like, hey, you know what? There's something more important here than just number go up, or make sure BlackRock has an ETF to run, or Sailor gets to buy more shares, or whatever these fiat shenanigans are doing. There is merit to me firing this up. And so we just need to reach those people effectively and get them to convert. And if there was some sort of incentive in place, like where you could go, hey, there's a financial reward for getting people to spin up a node, I think that would take off tomorrow. But I just don't know how you incentivize what is essentially altruistic behavior. Or someone might frame it as altruistic. I frame it as like picking up a gun and participating in the revolution, right? You go, how do you incentivize people to go risk their life and limb to defend freedom? You go, well, it's a tricky process, right? And it's usually because there's an acute pain point. Right now, people haven't experienced the acute pain point. My fear is that acute pain point will come too late for the people to spin up a node and make a difference. So my thing is like trying to convince people that the pain point has already happened. You're already experiencing the pain. And the way to fix it right now is to go and pick up a gun. And in this case, it means spin up a node, right? And I mean, it's just a tough message. So if I had the answer, I would be parroting it daily, but I don't. The best I've got so far is like, please, for the love of God, run a node. There's only 20,000 people that decide your future of the most important asset ever created by mankind. So that's not enough people to decide where that goes, I think. So
it may be that the financial incentive for people to run a node is built into solo miners. Just get a little miner that runs a node and join a pool, and then you are like I do, Robin does, and you may, Daniel, is like you can see that, oh, I'm accumulating a little bit, and so not only am I contributing, I'm learning more about block templates or wherever you want to go into it. But you can see your number go up steadily a little bit. Oh, Ocean got another block, and this little warm kindle in my heart, sparks, and I'm like, I'm contributing. I'm not just running a node, but in the background, right behind me here, I've got like 3 little miners running right now, and I'll glance at them and I'll check my little Ocean contribution, and it's like nothing, but also not nothing. So like over months that I've been just running these guys. You can see your contribution and your sats start to stack a little bit. And so that could be the right incentive for people like, okay, we can say run a node, but hey, you want a little financial sense of return or skin in the game? Run solo miners.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a great like gambling opportunity too. Like if you want to get into like, there are people that call themselves Bitcoiners that will go buy lottery tickets every day. I'm like, there's a way better lottery you can run. You get like one chance every 10 minutes. Just spin up one of those little fucking, like this guy right here, $480 solo miner, like Johnny pointed out. Like that guy spent $480 on lotto tickets and he just minted 300 grand out of fucking thin air, dude. It's like sweet, right? Like,
yeah, so, I love seeing that.
So play the lottery. Like if nothing else, I mean, that's a great point of like, if you want to get people running nodes, just go spin up a miner with a node attached. Like that's why I'm a huge fan of FutureBit, because they include a node with every fucking FutureBit they ship. It's sometimes hard to get them. It's a very expensive way to acquire hash power, because like even those miners you're running, like as 100 Acres Ranch pointed out, he's like, just go buy a used S19. It's the same cost and you get like 50 times the hash power, so you go, well, but I mean, that's a whole different kind of ball of beans to tackle. But still, there's I mean, if we can appeal to the lottery aspect of it, the gambling aspect, I go, that's great. Awesome. Like, please, go spin up a mine, dude. Like, and you are contributing a trivial amount of hash to the pool. You're never gonna like eclipse Mara or fucking, Ant Pool or anything like that. But at least you're part of it. And you've got that, if you're solo mining, like lottery mining, where you're not even going to the pool, you're just like, come on, baby, come on, here we go. We're just gonna roll the dice again. No, okay, how about this one? Like I remember when I was on my FutureBit, I had like this huge share, like it was in the hundreds of billions of my share. I was like, oh my God. I was, I was still 100 miles away from mining a block, but when you see those big, huge shares come in and you're just like, oh, my share of that block was like fat. Like I almost, if I just keep this thing going, maybe I'll hit that block. And, it's like, it's fun, right? Because it's just gambling. It's just like going to Vegas, except you've got Vegas on your desktop all day, every day, running in the background, just rolling dice for you. Like it's kind of a cool thing. So
you're not
do it, man. Fuck yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, you're not spending your time feeding a machine $20 bills. It's just you set it up, you learn something, you can forget about it or leave it alone. But you feel like you got some skin in the game. The very fact that a solo miner every once in a while wins the lotto, I love it, because it incentivizes interest. It rewards someone who threw their hat in the ring. And hey, it could be you.
It could be you. Can't win if you don't play.
Yeah.
So,
and you're helping protect the network a little bit.
Yeah, a lot. Well, I mean, yeah, I think that's probably a great approach. Like, I don't know. I mean, maybe MicroSeed in the future, we will spin up nodes and miners, and we'll include one with every MicroSeed and just go, hey, spin up a node. Here's your lotto ticket. Enjoy, and
yeah, the 2-part theme of take self-custody and run a node. If out of the box you can do both, that would be the dream.
Yeah, it already is. Well, I mean, that's why like Solo Satoshi and all those guys, like I think 100 Acres Ranch kind of craps on their head a little bit because they're just breaking up S19s and they're putting them in little packages and they're selling them for profit, right? And so there was some drama around that I kind of didn't really put too much stock into, but like BitAxe and all those guys, like I love it. I love that they're doing that. Like it's awesome. Yeah, please break up old S19s, repurpose the fucking chips and sell people hash. And, if you can figure out a way to include a bundle and node with it, you're doing God's work. Because like I think Solo Satoshi's thing is like we want a miner in every house. And I go, well, if you bundle it with a node, then you're doing way more for the network than just having people solo mining or contributing hash to a pool. I think solo mining to your own node is probably one of the best things you can do. Because then you're running a node, so you have a vote in what kind of node what software is being implemented on your node. And to the Knott's point, you can go, well, I choose what I'm going to relay on my node, so that's great, good for you, but you're also you get that 1 in however many chance, depending on how much hash you're running. Like there is some threshold of hash where it's like just about guaranteed you're going to hit a block within a year. And I can't, it's a lot, and that hash is fluctuating and can go up a lot. So you can spend a lot of money on miners and then find out that you don't have competitive hash anymore. So, but all it takes is one block reward to be life changer. So
life changing. Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, there are certain thresholds of hash that you can set up and still be on house electricity and not worry about burning your house down kind of thing, where you can have a reasonable anticipation of hitting a block within 5 years. And it's like, it's not bad, right? Like, I mean, It's an investment. It's probably going to cost you 25 grand and God bless you if you have solar, because otherwise your electric bill is going to make your wife pretty mad, I'm sure. But, I think it's better than running Christmas lights at the holidays and, burning all that electricity for showing off to the neighbors. So hell yeah, spin up a miner.
Have you seen the story where someone in an Airbnb mined Bitcoin?
Oh, really?
And Airbnb is like free electricity basically, and they just spun up a bunch of miners, and the electricity bill for like 2 weeks was tremendously high. And it's like, yeah, like you didn't forbid me to mine Bitcoin, and I was like. Yeah. Oh yeah, like he just goes around. He basically lives for free in the Airbnbs when he does it everywhere.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Didn't violate terms of service.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you can figure out how to tap into somebody else's electric bill, that's great, right? So,
and if you're worried about electricity, replace one hot shower with a cold one. It'll probably be healthy for you, and you replace all the electricity you spent on your miner.
Well, I remember when I was still working in an office environment, like literally about every single woman in the office was like, it's so cold in here, like constantly, right? And they're running these little under desk heaters and they're like, oh my God, it's freezing. And it's just constant battles over AC and what the temperature of the office is and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, hey man, if you're cold in the office, you can go buy a FutureBit, put it under your desk, and you can tap right into your employer's electricity bill and they're not going to know. They're like, oh, what are you doing? Oh, it's a desk heater. Oh, okay, whatever. We don't care. Like, it's just a cost of doing business for us. And I mean, if the FutureBit in eco mode is like running a light bulb all day or something like that, I mean, it's not nothing, but it's not like you're going to bankrupt yourself or something. So yeah, run that, have that under your desk at work and just let it just spin away. And then you're using your boss's dime to maybe hit a block, right? So that's pretty cool. Like, there's a lot of ways to skin this cat. Like I love the 100 Acres Ranch guy, because he's out there like building like this multi-megawatt solar facility out in the middle of nowhere with like this scavenged shit I mean, I'm surprised the guy hasn't blown himself up, but he's managed, like, I've watched his journey for a long time, and he's gone from like just like he's got these batteries that are swollen and about to explode, and he's like pumping way too much DC through stuff that shouldn't be. I'm just like, you're crazy, dude. But he's figured it all out. And now he's like selling some pretty cool little kits that like monitor fucking hash power, can adjust hash power on the fly, can help you optimize for solar, generation. And that guy, I think he's pulling in a pretty decent chunk of money just from, like going out and just not asking permission and just like, I'm going to put solar panels out in the middle of the desert and I'm just going to live in a trailer and be a fucking lunatic and set up miners and shit's working. It's awesome. I'm like, yeah, that's the kind of Bitcoiner I want to see more of, is like just crazy motherfuckers that are going out doing stuff like that. Shit's awesome. So
Yeah.
I fully support that guy. If you haven't seen him, it's at 100 Acres Ranch. I'm pretty sure is his handle on Twitter. Just check out what he's doing. He's awesome. Great guy. And he's building some really cool shit, and he speaks his mind. He's not afraid to ruffle feathers, and I love what he has to say 99% of the time. So yeah, support that guy's work. He's cool as shit. My hero.
Yeah, he's got an adventure going on. The Space Heater Wars sounds like my office, and
there are miners space heaters also, like like not only like it just being warm because of mining, but there's like actual like, how do you call, like Heatbit, and there's like this. There are like a bunch of companies that do that. I have no clue how good they are, but like there's a solution there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. IT might notice internet use, but hell, you could get a spare cell phone and run a hotspot or something. I had a little. Oh well, maybe I have it right here. I've got a little. I'll have to unplug it. I have a little weather clock thing that it's not showing the price right now, but it'll give you the time, it'll give you the weather, and it'll give you the Bitcoin price. So I set that up in my office, and it connects to Wi-Fi, and it just downloads bits of data, for the weather and the Bitcoin price. I had it running in my office for a couple of weeks, and IT shut it down because they saw it as something not ordained that was just sort of streaming. I mean, minimal bandwidth, but it wasn't approved.
Well, the guy that's running your IT department, I met him. He's a really good IT guy, so that's kind of the problem. Like he knows what to look for.
Hyper secure.
Yeah, but if you're part of IBM or you're sitting in the office at General Electric or whatever, and you just happen to want a desk heater, I don't think anybody in the IT department is going to notice that. So what the hell? What is this fucking bandwidth? Like, we're so busy like chasing around, like my printer doesn't work. I can't access email. I downloaded this link and I clicked on it because it said I needed to update the spreadsheet. And now all the computers are shut down. Like they're all dealing with that kind of shit, But the guy in your ID department, he's really good, and I think he's on top of that stuff. So.
Someone might be. Yeah, I mean, employees that stream little ESPN sports updates or whatever, and it's like, no, not allowed. It's good security, and it's appropriate policy, you might say, for a government workplace. But I mean, most workplaces don't care. Hey, right. Travis, welcome.
Is Travis here?
Travis just joined.
Dude, there's only 10 minutes left. Why don't you hop on and give us some strong opinions about something?
Travis, what's happening? Yeah, so run a node, take self-custody, and don't get distracted by the noise. But hey, it's a good season to go back to school. And if you've got opinions and you're like, hey, do some studying, learn a little bit before you start keyboard warring.
Well, I have a sneaking suspicion if anybody actually watches this podcast, which, I think historically speaking is relatively low. I mean, we get a few hundred views or whatever, but I have a sneaking suspicion if anyone watches the first part of it, they're going to be like, what? You guys are fucking spam apologists, or you guys are this, you guys even though I think the tone of our discussion was very neutral. Just kind of like, well, there's a lot to it. Think about it. The most important thing you can do is run a node. I did make fun of coders and, call them like people that tuck their t-shirts in their underwear, but whatever. I mean, like,
you're so inflammatory.
I know I'm being so inflammatory,
but as Johnny said, soapbox is our free speech and we enjoy our soapbox here. And we're also moderate in the sense that it is way more important that people run nodes than to take a strong side that you may or may not be completely right about, and yet you for not good reasons necessarily, but you ostracize half of the debate. And we're not about the division. It's about protect the network.
Decentralized, permissionless.
What is a soapbox?
Oh, soapbox is like if you're if you have a political rant or something like that, you stand up on a soapbox. Like they used to have these little boxes that are made of wood that soap came in, and so you'd stand on the soapbox so you could elevate yourself from the crowd and go, "We need to ban the British flag from our soil," or "We need to," or so you're standing on a soapbox and you're pushing an idea, right?
The First Amendment, any man on the street, and I mean, you can go downtown in a city or New York or whatever, and call them crazy or whatever, but everybody has that right to haul up their soapbox on the street corner, stand in a public square, and shout to nobody if you want, and that's your right. So,
well, it's one of the really cool things about London. Like, I'm pretty sure it's Trafalgar Square. Like, you'll still see those guys barking to this day, and I mean, they'll be out there in a top hat with tails and just like, we need to, and they'll be talking about Jesus or the war or immigration, whatever. It's like it's a tradition there, and I mean, that was back before Twitter, obviously, right? So nowadays the soapbox is Twitter, and unfortunately that's governed by an algorithm. Like the algorithm in the public square is people go, that guy sounds like an idiot, and they move on. The public square now is like got someone going, hey, you might not think this guy's an idiot. Listen to what he's saying because he's going to piss you off. And you go, hey, that guy really pissed me off. I'm going to go listen some more and I'm going to go engage more. And the algorithm goes, thank you very much. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
Please be angry. Get angry.
I have one more message to that, because I think we say like this running your own full node and running like doing self custody. I think weirdly enough, it's extremely important that people actually engage with the community actively and go purposely to an in-person conversation, an in-person meetup, be it a small meetup locally, be it a conference, be it something in those realms, because I do think those meetups, those conferences lift people up, so they are then also pushing self-custody, and they are pushing then also running their own full node, because it kind of, maybe it's just because this is my story, because of those conferences and those meetups, I was like, I also want to be more associated with the community, and I actually want to be something in the community. And I think if we get more people to actually show up in person, to actually be engaged in the community, naturally we'll have more people that care about the second pillar. So like for me, as I said before, it's like the first, second, and third pillar. If we have many people actually in the third pillar in the community active, we automatically have people active in the freedom aspect, and this makes the whole thing better. So I don't know, maybe it's just me ranting about it, but I really like when people show up in person to meetups or to conferences. And there's always one argument that people bring up is the privacy aspect, and I don't know like why people are concerned about that, because there are some concerns about physical attacks, but the attack vectors online on the cyber realm is like way higher. And maybe that's just because I'm from Austria, like we discussed about it before. Yeah. That's a different realm, but I do think showing up in person and going to conferences and meetups is extremely important.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, dude. Like, and it really, I think all that rhetoric gets toned way down in person, right? Like, if you look at the vitriol between the big characters in this current debate, like if you see them online, like they are, like if they were in person saying that kind of stuff, the knives would be coming out, right? But when you see them like on the same stage talking to each other, like all that, it's all gone. Like there's no more like you're a this or you're a that or blah, blah, blah. They just have a discussion, right? And they might disagree and they might not like each other or whatever, but like CoinJoin Chris, Chris from Seedor is like one of those great characters because he goes out and he just talks to people in person, and I love his little pictures that he puts out where he's just like, I met this person live at so and so conference, and I can now say that I like this person in person just as much as I like them online. But then he can also come out and say, I met this person at a conference, and I can say just as much in person as online that I don't like this person. They don't like me. It's fine. But he takes a picture with them. He's got a smile. But that's kind of what the community should be like, right? Is like, we can agree to disagree. We don't see eye to eye on this kind of thing. But at the end of the day, we can still go to a conference and appreciate that Bitcoin is the most important invention ever created by mankind, and we should all support its continued growth and its continued decentralized permissionless structure, right? So I love what you said, Robin. I think that's so true. But those meetups, all those things are great, man. Like you get to sit down and just talk with people that have mostly similar ideas about the world, right? And that's where the true magic starts happening. So the Running community.
Those Twitter spaces are very different to what an actual meetup in real life with other real Bitcoiners is, even if it's the same people.
Right?
Like,
yeah.
Twitter does something weird with our brains.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, there's the shield. It's like when you're screaming at somebody from your car, you son of a bitch, I'll kill you, blah, blah, blah. The second the guy gets out of the car, it's all of a sudden like, oh, this is a different thing now. I was expecting just to be mouthy and, but it's people that are unaccustomed to, like it's this illusion of bodily integrity, right? Like I have the right to say what happens to my body. It's all true until someone punches you in the face. And that risk of getting punched in the face is greatly magnified if the guy you're yelling at is right in front of you, right? So it tends to tone down that rhetoric. But it's just like that video of those dogs where they're like barking at each other through the closed gates. They're just, and someone opens the gate and they're just like, oh. And then they close the gate again. They're, that's Twitter, that's Spaces, that's all this shit. It's just like, a lot of tough talk until you actually have to deal with what the ramifications of your tough talk, right?
Yeah, and we sometimes forget that there's.
That's a great point.
You're right, Travis.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. There can be all this fighting online and stuff, and then you meet up somewhere, you have a conference, and you realize that gentlemen can discuss these issues. It's just that we're very passionate about the importance of all of this, and there's way more that we agree on than what we don't agree on. I mean, we're fighting over like what is the perfectness of this very important thing, and that's good that people care. So anyway, the good conversation shall continue. I heard a good thing, man, it was years ago, but political stuff, but sort of like controlling bad speech or hate speech or banning speech, and sort of like that. The solution to, say, some bad speech isn't to control and ban speech. It's to foster an environment where more speech can happen and we can have speech, and hopefully, having faith in humanity, the good ideas and the things that work percolate upwards, and the things that people don't like or don't like seeing are identified. And we don't like that, or that's not healthy, but we can handle that versus saying, no, we need mommy, nanny to tell us what is good and bad. I'm pretty tolerant of the banter that goes on online. I don't like a lot of it or some of it, but I guess I would say at least the conversation is being had, and we're having growing pains, if you call it that. Even it's just sort of maybe the nature of people's passion about Bitcoin.
You're not getting the Epstein files, dude.
That's true.
That's a non-starter. That's always been a non-starter. Like,
oh, brother,
there are names from both sides of the aisle on that document. If one side had an advantage, they would have released it a long time ago. Both sides look at it and go, ooh.
And if you
let's just sit on that for a while. Yeah.
If you ultimately follow that money in the resource capture game there, it's deeper and darker than people can fathom, I would say. So
I would just point out, like, the fact that the most powerful people in the world can get blackmailed so deeply just because they were, well, I'm not even going to go there. I say it's a failing on all of us that these people are subject to blackmail for that behavior. Like it's a huge problem. It's like the Russian spies used to go, hey, you can't compromise a French spy by threatening to reveal an affair, right? Because the French guy, they go, if you don't start working with us, we're going to tell your wife about this affair with your mistress. And he goes, yeah, this is fine with me. I don't care. It's okay. She knows. She has her own affairs. We just do. This is a French thing we do, So they had to find other levers to pull. And right now, those Epstein files are problematic just because it's like, because we turned that behavior into prison rules, right? Where you go, you should be killed for doing X, Y, Z. So it's like, it makes us a very vulnerable country, obviously, because our entire leadership cadre is compromised by a list. So, and it's very obvious to anybody who's bothering to look, and you go, well, maybe we should back off the prison rules for a little bit and like start having real adult discussions about like, how can we get these guys out from under the thumb of this fucking blackmail? Because it's a problem for everybody. So there's my new soapbox.
Our soapbox. We have a quiet,
it's an indefensible position. Like you can't take the position like, well, you know, because it's like you don't want to encourage the behavior. And I also want to be realistic about like, how can we get these people out from under the thumb of their stupid fucking choices, things they shouldn't have been doing. We need to figure out a better way to get them out of there without like threatening to burn them and tar and feather them. So sorry to interrupt, Fritz.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, my thought is that we have a blackmail autocracy in a sense. Trump, in some sense now, by not revealing it, and people may or may not know what is in there or what maybe he has, he holds the cards of the blackmail. So that's a power play.
He does not hold the cards. You cannot hold the cards of blackmail if you're part of the if you're being blackmailed. Like you can't be like, hey, I've got all the power now. I mean, I'm on the list, so I'm going to use like that. All that does is tell him like, ooh, I need to keep my mouth shut. I need to figure out how to get through this problem because I campaigned on it like a dickhead. Like if he had just kept his mouth shut about those files, we're going to release the files. Dumbest fucking, because he went and looked at the files and went, ooh, oh, we can't release those. Yeah, no shit, dumbass. That's what we're all telling you when you're making that campaign promise. Like, we can't release those files because all your buddies in the Senate get fucking roasted, and all your buddies in England get roasted, and all your buddies in Germany get roasted, and all the people that you hate on the other side get roasted. Like the whole ship burns down if we put those files out. So walk it back somehow. And he goes, okay, I guess I'm gonna try and figure out how to walk this back now. Like, it's fake news. Like. And it'll work sooner or later. Everyone will stop talking about it.
Yeah, repeat it long enough, loud enough, and people maybe move on. But
that's from a government committee.
The 180 that they, yeah, we need a government committee. Maybe that'll fix it all. The awkward 180 that was taken with the messaging around all that stuff was real cringe, though, and it's just like, really? Anyway, but yeah. We got problems that way.
Yeah. Well, on that note, let's see how much I get. I feel like I'm just gonna
some inside joke with government committee that I don't get.
Yeah. Well, it's just like, hey, let's, it's like
we're from the government. We're here to help.
We're here to help. Right? Yeah. It's like, well, let's take the most ineffective people possible, the ones that are already compromised by all this information. Let's get them to form a committee so they can get to the bottom of this problem that they created. It's just like, okay, yeah, that's a good idea. But that's where they always go. They're like, well, we need to start a committee to get to the bottom of this. Warren Commission, 9/11 Commission, the Epstein Commission, the fucking Russia hoax commission. Every commission they do is like, all it is like a stalling, delaying tactic to make it look like they're doing something. At the end of it all is nothing. Like nothing happens, nothing changes. They just go, here's a 400-page report no one's going to read. That's 2 years after everyone was all pissed off about it. Like that's the delaying tactic. Like if CORE had half a brain in their heads, they go, okay, you know what? We're going to form a committee. We'll publish a report in 2 years about whether or not op return was a good idea. And by then everyone will have forgotten about it. And they're, like right now they should form a committee tomorrow and just go, okay, we're going to form a committee, a select committee to investigate op return. And then file a report that no one reads 2 years from now after they've already done what they're going to do. Anyway.
And put one or two nuts people in there.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. That's exactly a government committee. That's exactly what Travis just suggested.
That's amazing.
Yeah. All right. Shit.
It's like when the public demands answers to something or something bad happened and we want answers, and we're going to put the top scientists and the top advisors and the people who are on the ground and witness the stuff, and they're going to testify before Congress, and Congress is going to ask these harsh questions and go, oh my gosh, like unbelievable. And there's a whole show put on about we're getting to the bottom of this. And they do all that, and it's on C-SPAN. Yeah. And then a week or a month later, it's like, what? So whatever happened to that? Well, we had our hearing, and
We got to make
maybe
some
they offer a
sausage
bill.
TV.
There is I have no clue about the American one, and there's probably something similar in America, I would guess. There is something where the parliament can have another committee. I don't know like what they are called, but there in Austria at least there have been some arrests from that because people have lied in those committees, and then they got arrested. Like that's how I saw some of that. And there's even a finance minister that have done bad stuff in 2002, and he got arrested this year for that.
Yeah.
I mean, it took what is it now, 23 years?
No problem.
But he did really bad stuff, and like not just financial stuff, like nothing nothing with kids or anything like that, but with finance stuff. So I've seen that some of it works, but a government committee. It's also not from the government. Those committees are usually from the opposition led, but it's a whole different thing in America because there are only two parties, right? Like, and there's the Senate. So in Austria, we have this like group that actually is just from the opposition, and they have an incentive to trick the government and trick them into like saying something that is maybe a lie, and then you can get the police involved, and all of a sudden there's another arrest of a government guy.
Yeah, well, They try and do the same stuff here. I mean, they paraded Trump through the court system. We have a sort of more base term for it. It's kind of lawfare, right? And but if you just watch any like congressional hearing, any of that kind of stuff, like all it is like people get up and just say, it's just like the debates on Twitter right now. They just go, "Oh, so you support being a pedophile?" No, what I'm trying to say, okay, and so just answer the question. Why is it so hard for you? Yes or no? Do you support pedophilia? No, I don't. Well, then how come you did this? And so very clearly you do support pedophilia, but and that's, and that's like the whole conversation. It's like, and you can't get a word in edgewise, and it's all just gotcha. And it's all specifically for that congressperson to, stand up for his constituency and show that he's doing something, and he's taking a hard stance against the evil bad doer, whatever that is. And it's exactly the same. Like it's like old school brigading, right? And that's all it really boils down to. But somewhere at the end of those chains, they can sometimes find a fall guy they'll button up and send to prison. They'll say, "See, we did something," right? But if it's anybody really powerful, like it's pretty remarkable that like the finance minister could get buttoned up. I mean, it took 23 years, but they got buttoned up, right? So, but here in America, like there's too much grift and too much, there's way too much financial influence for, like all kinds of people should have gone to prison after the financial crisis, and like literally zero. Like one guy who did some bad trade was like, "Oh, you're the fall guy. Sucks to be you. See you later, dude." And everyone else is just like, "I got a bonus. Sweet."
Yeah, just kind of
to be honest, the finance minister of Austria is not a big guy. It's maybe in Austria a big guy, but compared to someone big in the USA government, it's like because Austria is like a city in America, so there might be differences because I don't want to compare that at all. So a finance minister is only for Austria a big guy, and in the greater scheme of things, if you compare it to congressional hearings to America, he's kind of the guy that writes the report afterwards.
Yeah, well, it's probably more similar to like someone getting buttoned up. Like, if the Secretary of State here in New Mexico got arrested, you'd be like, yeah, kind of the similar deal, right? Similar, probably,
yeah.
Or Texas or whatever. I don't know. But anyway, I think we're a little over time now, aren't we? Fun stuff.
It's been a good hour. We're going to get it off with a good bit of fun drama at the end there. So
yeah.
Run a node, take self-custody.
Run knots. 100%. It's the most important thing ever in the world, history of the world. So
and
if you're the knots army, don't come and fucking flame me because I don't have any problem with you running knots.
Yeah, and hey, if you're into self-custody, by the way, MicroSeed is probably the best way to do it.
Yeah, I have MicroSeed.
Thanks, Johnny. MicroSeed, having been hands-on MicroSeed steadily for this past week, continually reminded that it is the best tool out there, the best solution out there. New website up, so it's It's
Oh,
awesome.
by the way, if anyone's still listening to this and you had an account on Squarespace, all those got deprecated with Squarespace. We're on a new website now. If you want updates on your orders, I'm really sorry about that. Squarespace was an absolute nightmare, and we couldn't get away from them fast enough. Squarespace can GFY as far as I'm concerned. If you're listening, GFY 100%. I hate you. And you can track updates on the production schedule page. It's not quite as granular as what you might have had with the old Squarespace account. Our thing is we're trying to get away from holding people's data. We want to get rid of your data as quickly as possible, and we don't want it any longer than we have to have it. And so with our new website, we don't want to have accounts that we need to purge. We don't want to have any of that kind of stuff. We keep your order data until it's fulfilled, and then it's gone. We don't want it. We don't want it available for anybody to snoop on. We want plausible deniability as much as you do. So that's kind of why that's happened. If you're seeing this, pretty please just give us a little patience, a little grace, because Squarespace was absolutely horrible. And I can't tell you, I could just list the laundry list of horrible things they've done and continue to do, even though we're not with them anymore. But yeah, just
growing pains, getting better. And yeah, if you're ever considering starting a business and you need a website, my God, if you want to put your business at risk, put it on Squarespace.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Anyway,
horrible. They're still holding our money. Like they just randomly would ban transactions. They're just.
We see that you're making money. Fraud alert.
We're gonna steal all your money for a while. So sorry about that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. They still got our money hostage. Like your money, the money you gave us to provide microseeds, they're holding hostage. So
yeah, just trying to buy inventory. And it's not even a lot. It's just kind of like, really?
No, it's a lot. I think it's a lot. Like it's not nothing. I mean,
but does this look like money laundering or a scam, or is it the term Bitcoin, or what is it here? How does anyone have a business and run it on Squarespace if they're going to make a little money?
Yeah, because just FYI, that's not their business model. Their business model is to attract a bunch of wannabes that want to set up a dropship site because they saw a YouTube video, and they're never going to sell anything. So that's who they're bilking out of their money. They don't want your business to be successful. They absolutely want your business to be just another thing that they don't have to worry about. The second you become successful, they're going to mess with you endlessly. It's horrible, 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 horrible service. Don't ever use them.
DIY, build your own. Get off those
WordPress
walled gardens, caged gardens.
WordPress, ZapRite, awesome companies. Use them.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Thanks for joining, y'all. It's been a good one, and we're going to do it again next week. Every Saturday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Mountain. And I don't know what time it is in Vienna. What time is it now, Robin?
It's 8:15 p.m. So it's prime time evening.
Prime time
in Europe, you have dinner, finish up dinner, and tune in.
Well, let's get the robot to start dubbing our voices into German, dude. Like you could just speak German. Oh, you couldn't. We'd have to dub you back into English. But yeah, we should just have the robot just go beep, burp, burp, and hit us with all German everything.
I look into that with my channel because I'm still it's still not translated to German, even though I'm a German guy. Yeah. But yeah, it's bad time in Austria, so I'm getting to bed now.
Right. It's bedtime for Robin.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much.
Have breakfast. All right. Thanks, y'all. Next time. We'll see you.
Bye.
Bye.